Have you ever felt unappreciated? I know I sure as hell have. It happens to me at least twice a week. Hello, my name is Ernest. Welcome. In this part one, I'm going to tell you an absolutely true story concerning an extremely powerful phrase that I've only used twice in my life. And as an adult, unless my life was absolutely in imminent threat, I will never use again. When people don't follow through on even the mildest commitment, be honest, doesn't it really just piss you off? Especially when you sincerely wanted to mend fences over something which was basically stupid. And you realized that, and you were trying to be the better man. But alas, you got emotionally slapped across the face, and that never feels good. So, if you have suffered this kind of emotional treachery, I'm here to give you some good news. One of the things I've definitely learned through advanced perception, there really are emotional and energy wave debts. They are not forgiven by the elemental powers that be. And as the other old saying goes, paybacks are a bitch. And I'm going to tell you through my own personal story exactly how and why that happens. The vast majority of people are simply not aware of the fact that although in the immediate time reflection, you cannot commit acts of harm and cruelty to others without it coming back to bite you in the ass. And more often than not, many times the suffering that you brought to others will be vested many more times upon you. So, this is the reason why, not only based on my own life experience, but additionally what I've learned through advanced perception. You never engage in an eye for an eye retribution. That is actually one of the worst things you can do because it amounts to nothing. Now, I totally and completely understand that when someone has wronged you, and I do very much mean really wronged you, it is a natural and completely understandable desire to retaliate in kind. And additionally, depending on your culture and how you were raised, let's just say that the idea of turning the other cheek isn't exactly the first thing on your mind. But allow me to tell you this very brief and true story about my life. I wish to reiterate that this was actually a part of my life, something that actually happened. This is not in any way fabricated. It is 100% truth, and hard for me to even believe it was 50 years ago. I met an old man in a park. It wasn't a huge park, exactly, well, one square city block. It just had simple concrete paths with benches. In retrospect, a very 20th century park, including a large domed area with columns, with an old brass water fountain in the center, with a press pedal to turn on the water. I drank from that old brass fountain countless times. Anyway, I met this old timer who was sitting on a bench, and he had a cane and he had white hair. His name was Roy, and we struck up a conversation. This wasn't weird or creepy. It was pretty normal for that time, and somehow he could see that I was upset. And he asked me, "What are your troubles, boy?" So, long story short, I told him my troubles, and I remember he was spitting chewing tobacco, also very common back then, and he simply kept saying, mm-hmm, and I actually didn't think that he was really paying attention, but actually he was. I told him there was another boy, always older, of course, constantly fucking with me in the neighborhood. We'll call him Sam. And okay, I didn't use the word fucking with him. You didn't talk that way around your elders back then. I believe I just said he was giving me a hard time. Anyway, he completely understood, even though I remember that he hardly ever looked at me. He just kept tapping his cane on the ground, listening and saying, mm-hmm, over and over again. I also remember distinctly his eyes. He had very cool, pale blue eyes. So, I guess after I had told him enough, he said something to me that I didn't understand. How is your perception, son? I didn't understand the word and I didn't understand the question. Then he suddenly became very serious, stopped tapping his cane on the ground, and looked at me directly. And he said this: I want to tell you something very important. I just want to make sure you're not a goddamn idiot before I tell you. Those were his exact words. If I could just take a moment for this pitch. Here's the amazing and incredible Earnest Mann tote bag. Christ. Which can be all yours for a very reasonable donation by just clicking on the link in the description below. It's sturdy and holds a lot of ramen noodles. No, seriously, it holds a lot of ramen noodles. Now, if you're young, remember, I grew up in a time when people, especially old people, said exactly what they meant without the artificially created feminine restrictions concerning caring about someone's feelings back in more emotionally honest times. You said what you meant, and you meant what you said. He simply said, the next time he's bothering you, just say this word 3 times, presence, and he won't bother you anymore. Now, I was only around 13 years old at the time, I believe, and I had no idea what he meant. But I liked what he said because I was sick of Sam, and I just wanted him to go away. That's exactly what happened. He absolutely went away. So I'm guessing it was around, a week or more later, where everybody met to catch the bus to go to school. And of course, there was Sam. We were about 50 feet apart on the same side of the sidewalk, and he spotted me. He called out my name and started walking towards me. He called out something I don't quite remember, but he was obviously happy because he was, once again, going to fuck with me, which meant shaking me down for my lunch money and giving me a few good punches. Of course, I was scared as hell, but I remembered what the old man Roy told me to do, and that's what I did. I said the word presence 3 times very quickly. I remember clearly what happened, as though it were yesterday. He was quickly walking towards me and informing me of the ass whipping I was about to receive. Then this is exactly what happened. Alongside the curb, there was a small stretch of the street where the street dipped down at least a foot or more. I'm guessing, about 8 feet or so in length. So if a car or bus ran, across it, it would very briefly bend down like a foot or more, causing a vehicle to dip and tilt towards the curb significantly. And in this case, the vehicle passing was a bus. Now, back then, the buses were very rounded at the corners, both front and back. Not sharp or square corners like modern buses, but very round. I can visualize this in my mind's eye right now exactly. Just after a few steps, he was heading towards me, and for whatever reason, Sam turned around to see the bus approaching. At the very instant, it was dipping down and caused the right hand side of the bus to significantly overlap the curb. And at that very moment, the right hand side of the bus caught Sam directly in the temple as it dipped down and tilted in that very short spot I just told you about. The bus struck him square in the head and he dropped immediately. It killed him. That is the absolute truth. There is so much more in this particular story that I could tell, but I would have to at least bring it into a part two if you're interested. What I'm trying to tell you is that this is part of the very beginning of my transformation concerning advanced perception. And it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what occurred after that. So, to conclude what I'm trying to say, this is the reason that you absolutely should not engage in retribution towards those who have harmed you. Because what I know is extremely powerful, but you absolutely must accept and understand that what can be learned from what I'm trying to tell you is quite serious. And the very first thing that you have to learn is that when people don't appreciate you for your value, you simply cannot use the power of advanced perception as a tool for retribution. It is a tool for something else entirely. Well, that's all I've got to say for today. I hope you found this helpful or interesting. And if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me via my website link in the description below. And if you really want to give me a compliment, telling a friend about the show would be the best compliment you could ever give me. Until next time, this is Ernest, and I usually always am.